Hello students, in this video we will go through the energy levels in an atom. Thereafter we will look at the electronic configuration of various elements based on their atomic number, and for that we will have to look as to how the electrons fill up in different orbitals or different shells that an atom possesses based on its atomic number. Okay, so let's begin first with discussing an atom. So as we know, the atom are part of everything that is around. Okay, all matter is made up of tiny particles called atom, and this was discovered by John Dalton. And then we had a person called Niels Bohr, okay, and he made an assumption that till today we follow. Okay, like for example, he said based on all other theories and based on all the research that was carried out by previous researchers, it was concluded that all particles are made up of, or all matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. Now atom have some subatomic particles, that is, there are tinier particles than an atom, and they are electrons, protons and neutrons. Every atom is made up of a nucleus at its center. Okay, now the nucleus is like the heart of the atom. Now this nucleus contains protons and neutrons, and there are electrons that are moving around in discrete orbits, okay, around the nucleus. Like over here we have a look, this, imagine this as an atom. The atom has a nucleus in the center, and these rings that you can see around the nucleus, these are known as orbitals or shells. These are regions which have space around in which you have electrons filling up. Okay, now imagine the electrons around this nucleus, just like how we have our solar system. In our solar system we have our sun at the center, as we assume it to be in the center of our solar system, and around it we have various planets, and we have imaginary orbits in which these planets move around throughout the year. We have your Mercury, then you have Venus, then you have Mars, then you have Earth, and they don't collide with each other because they move around in particular orbits. Orbits is a pathway that it follows, a particular pathway around, and it's a circular or elliptical orbit that is followed by the planets. Similarly, in case of an atom, we have electrons that move around in orbits. These orbits are known as shells or orbitals, okay, in which these electrons keep moving. Okay, now in an atom, as we said, there is a nucleus and there are electrons moving around it. Now the nucleus consists of two things. It is made up of protons containing positive charge and neutrons possessing neutral charge, and outside it, that means outside the nucleus, in those shells we have electrons, and these electrons are negative in nature. This is a neutral charge, so you can say no charge at all, and you have protons which are positively charged. So similarly you have electrons which are negatively charged. Now in an atom, the number of protons is always equal to the number of electrons, as a result of which what happens is the charge that is there is always balanced. But these electrons keep moving around, okay, in these orbits or they are present within the shell. Now this, when they move around, they do not radiate any energy, though, so meaning they do not give out any energy. Energy possessed by a moving electron is always given out or absorbed when it either jumps an orbit or comes down from an orbit. Okay, so you have this, I have marked over here based on the number of shells an atom can have, based on how many electrons can fill in that shell. Imagine the shell as a slot, you know, how much can fill up in that, like that much. You have if you take, for example, you go to buy eggs, so you have an egg case that you carry with you, and it will have 12 slots, so make sure that you can carry 1 dozen eggs or bring home 1 dozen eggs. So similarly over here, each shell has got defined slots, it's not more than that. Like for example, you have your nucleus as marked over here, then you have your K shell. The one closer to the nucleus is known as the K shell, and it has got a place for only 2 electrons to fill up. Now what is n equal to 1? Now as you go higher up in the 11th and 12th standard, you will learn about K shell, L shell, and M shell and N shell. At low standard, it is just taken as n equal to 1, 2, 3. These are energy levels which keep increasing as you go higher and higher. Now over here you have the K shell closer to the nucleus, then next is the L shell, then is the M, then is the N. Okay, so this follows the English alphabet, wherein it's just how you know A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you have K, L, M, N. Easy to remember. Okay, starting with K closest to the nucleus. But each shell has a limited space, and they don't have equal space, because if you have a look, the K shell is smaller. Then you have the L shell, which is bigger, larger than the K shell, but is smaller compared to the M shell. The largest is the N shell. If it is larger, that means it has more space for more electrons to be occupied. Okay, so similarly K shell, as I told you, it has space for just 2 electrons. Okay, now how much space does each shell have? That is given by a particular formula. Okay, now the distribution of electrons in these various shells is done in accordance to something called as a Bohr-Bury scheme. So two researchers who came up with this plan of how many slots are available or how much space is available for electrons. So how many electrons can be occupied by the first shell, second shell, third shell, fourth shell. That is what is Bohr-Bury scheme basically gives us a criteria or a rule, you can say, of how the electrons fill up in these various shells and how many slots are available in each shell. Okay, so let's have a look at this Bohr-Bury scheme. So according to the Bohr-Bury scheme, the first thing it says is the filling up of an electrons in an atom is done in accordance to 2n square. Okay, so it is 2n square, where n is the number of the shell which we have given over here, n equal to 1, n equal to 2, n equal to 3, n equal to 4, and 2n square represents the total number of electrons that can be accommodated in a particular shell. Let's take an example. Let's take our first shell. So for n equal to 1, let's find out. I've already told you it can occupy 2 electrons. So let's put this in this formula. So n equal to 1, what do we get? So 2n square. So in place of n, I'll put 1 raised to 2. 1 whole square is 1, 2 into 1 is 2. So 2 electrons are possible in the K shell. So we'll put it down over here, K shell equal to 2. Next, n equal to 2. This is the second orbital or shell. So we put the formula. So 2n square, which is equal to 2 into 2 whole square. 2 whole square is 4, 4 into 2 is 8. So that means L has place for 8 electrons. What about n equal to 3? 2n square, so which will be equal to 2 into 3 whole square. 3 whole square is 9, 9 into 2 is 18. So which means M has space for 18 electrons. And finally, what about n equal to 4? So I'll do it over here. So we have 2n square, you can say 2 into 4 whole square. 4 whole square is 16, 16 into 2 is 32, which means n has space for 32 electrons. So the maximum number of electrons that can be filled in a shell is given over here. So that means 2 electrons can be filled in K shell, maximum of 8 electrons can be filled in L shell, a maximum of 18 electrons can be filled in M shell, and a maximum of 32 electrons can be filled in N shell. But how does the filling occur? How do we decide how the electrons occupy a seat? Like for example, you have an empty bus and you have a number of students who are looking to board that bus. So do we allow at random all the students to get in? There will be some students who will be standing outside, some who will be sitting. So there is a criteria that is done to make sure that how the seating arrangement, or in this case how the vacant spaces within a shell is filled up. And what fills up first? The K shell fills up first, then the L shell fills up, then the M fills up, then the N. But is it always that we fill up K completely, then we fill up L completely, then we fill up M completely, then we fill up N towards the end? No, it is not like that. The first two at least follow that way, as in K has to fill up completely, then L will fill up. Without K filling up, L will not start filling up. So K will fill up first completely. Once K is full, L will start filling up. And once L is full, M will start filling up. But we don't wait to fill up M completely to start with N. There is a criteria. So we look at what is that criteria based on the Bohr-Bury scheme. So it says that the outermost shell can't hold more than 8 electrons, while the second last can't have more than 18 electrons, even though they may have capacity to hold more electrons. So let us take an example to understand what it means over here. Now before we go to this criteria, let's have a look at filling up of electrons in the first two shells, okay, so that we understand the concept of electronic configuration. So we have to learn something called as an electronic configuration. That electronic configuration, it just gives you the arrangement of electrons in those shells. Okay, for example, let's take an example. Okay, so we have our first element, that is beryllium. The atomic number is 4. Okay, now what would be the electronic configuration? So remember, first we fill up the first shell, and the first shell, that is K, has space for only 2 electrons. So we put over here 2. How many electrons remain now? Atomic number tells you the number of electrons that are present within beryllium atom. So there are 4 electrons present. 2 are already filling up the first shell, that is K shell. What remains is 2 more electrons remain, and that go to the next shell. So it will be 2, 2. Okay, let's take the next example. Next example is carbon with atomic number 6, which means there are 6 electrons present within carbon. So once again it fills up to, what remains is 4. So it will be 2 comma 4. So there are 4 electrons present in the L shell. Our next element is neon with an atomic number 10. Okay. Now this, it will be 2, and there are 8 electrons left to be pushed into various orbitals. You see the number of electrons that can fill up L shell, it is total of 8, and there are 8 electrons left. So which means that in case of neon, the two shells, that is K shell and L shell, are completely filled up. Now this is a stable configuration, okay, and neon is known as a noble gas, and this is a configuration of a noble gas, okay, and it is highly stable. So when it comes to stability, each and every element looks to attain this stable configuration, either by losing electrons or by gaining electrons or by sharing electrons with others. And we will discuss this concept about losing, gaining or sharing electrons to attain stability in another video. For now we will just focus on how to write electronic configuration and how electrons fill up in various shells or orbitals. Let's take another example. So our next example is sodium with an atomic number 11, which means there are 11 electrons. If there were 10 electrons and we got this configuration, that means for sodium with 11, which means one additional electron, our configuration should become 2, 8, 1, which means we go to the M shell, which has a capacity to accommodate 18 electrons. So we put 2, 8, 1. So we have now reached the third shell with sodium. The next example is argon, also a noble gas. So which means that all noble gases have got stable configuration. So argon will also have stable configuration. But let's look at what is the configuration of that. So it will be 2, 16 remains. We can put only 8 in the next shell. So 8 plus 2, 10. 10 meaning now only 8 remain, and we have no other option but to put that 8 in the third orbital. Now, as per the Bohr-Bury scheme, in the third shell we cannot have more than 8 electrons, okay, if we are filling up more. That means this will become your second last shell, but in this case this is your last shell and this is allowed. So what happens with an element having atomic number 19? And let's have a look. Let's say the atomic number is 19. So you would expect the configuration to be 2, 8, 9, correct? Because if argon having atomic number 18 has a configuration of 2, 8, 8, then the atomic number with 19 should have 2, 8, 9, right? Especially since the third shell has a capacity of 18 electrons. So it shouldn't harm, right? Having an additional electron over here. Logically speaking, it should be 2, 8, 9, but it is not according to the Bohr-Bury scheme. According to the Bohr-Bury scheme, what it says is that the outermost shell can't hold more than 8 electrons. So in that case, if we follow Bohr-Bury scheme, what it's trying to say is it should be 2, 8, 8, 1, which means the 9th electron, which should have been here, it actually goes to the next shell, which is N shell, to satisfy the Bohr-Bury scheme. Got it? It goes here 2, 8, 1. So something like let's say calcium, which has got an atomic number of 20, its electronic configuration will be 2, 8, 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 plus 8 is 18, and 18 plus 2 is 20. The two electrons which should have been in the M shell have now gone to the N shell. Okay, N for November, N shell. This is how we get it. Okay, now there is another exception to this. What if the electronic atomic number is 27? You would expect it to become 2, 8, 8. That will be 8 plus 2, 10, 10 plus 8, 18. So 9 electrons remain. It should have been 9, 2, 8, 8, 9, because the last shell has a capacity of 32 electrons. So filling up 9 electrons shouldn't be a problem. But as per Bohr-Bury scheme, we have been told that the last shell should not have more than 8 electrons. Okay, so if we should not have more than 8 electrons, then we put 8 over here. Where does that one remaining electron go? Then it comes back again into this shell, and this becomes 9. Got it? This becomes 9, because remember, this is the M shell, and M shell have capacity for accommodating 18 electrons. So having 9 electrons shouldn't be a problem. Got it? So in this case, there is an exception. Remember, we can't have more than 8 electrons in the outermost shell, and we need to then start filling up the third shell. If there are more electrons to be filled up in the outermost shell, first we begin by filling up the second last shell. In this case, it is the M shell that is filled up. Followed only once this is up to 18, then this will start filling up. That is, the N shell will start or begin filling up. For example, let's take atomic number 35. Okay, in this case it will be 2, 8, it should be 8, and then it should be 8. Now we need to stop it over here and see how much does this come to, because this comes to a stable configuration, 8, 8, 8 in each orbital or each shell. 2 plus 8 is 18, 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 plus 8 is 18, 18 plus 8 is 26, which means there are 9 more electrons that need to be filled up. Those 9 electrons do not go in the outermost shell, they actually start filling up the third shell. In this case, it is the M shell. So 8 plus 9 comes to 17. So it will be 2, 8, 17, 8. Remember, the M shell has 18 space for 18 electrons. So we have seen how we have different energy levels present within an atom. We have gone through the concept of electronic configuration and how the Bohr-Bury scheme helps us to understand how do the electrons fill up various shells or orbitals that are present within the nucleus, okay, present within an atom. Remember, these shells which are present, these are regions which are present with surrounding the nucleus, and in those regions that is special area for those particular electrons to be present. You can't accommodate more than required, okay, and they have various energy levels. Like for example, electrons present closer to the nucleus will be tightly held by the nucleus because of its attractive forces. As a result, it won't have a lot of energy. But if you were to try to remove or extract those electrons closer to the nucleus, a tremendous amount of energy would be required because they are held very, very tightly together, as compared to the electrons which are present outside or on the fringes or on the outermost shell. Like for example, those present within the N shell, they will be quite loosely held relatively compared to the electrons present within the K shell. For the simple reason is they are far away far away from the nucleus as compared to those in the K shell. And because they are loosely held, they possess a lot of energy and they move around with tremendous amount of energy. That is why the energy increases as we move from one shell to another. The ones in the outermost shell, the electrons in the outermost shell, are easier to extract, or to lose out, or even to accept electrons is easier when it comes to the bigger shells. So in the next video we will learn the concept of electrons present within the outermost shell. They are called valence electrons, and they are extremely important in chemistry, in physics, to understand how do various atoms bond with each other. Okay, and it throws a whole new insight, gives you a lot of insight into the bonding nature, the chemical bonding nature. But we'll leave it for another video. For now, we'll leave it at this, where we have now learned about electronic configuration of various elements based on their atomic numbers. Okay, so if you have liked this video, please click on the like button, share it with your friends and classmates, and click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Please click on the bell icon to get notified when a new video is posted. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.